Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Monday, the 4th day of October, 2021. Well, can you believe we're finally in my month? I was born in October, so I love October. It is my favorite month. May is also a good one too, but I don't know what it is. It just seems like the sky is more clear, and I was walking outside last night, and the Big Dipper was literally straight across over on the horizon, and it was humongous. And instead of being in some weird tilted way, it was just right there, and it was just incredible. So the night sky is just always, especially during the darker phases of the moon, and it's just incredible in October, I think. At least where we are, it is. So, but the sun's in Libra today. The moon is in Virgo. The moon governs magic, and favorability for work of magic's excellent. And if you want to see a weekly recommendation for Sunday through Saturday, you can see that over on the Patreon page. There's a link to the Patreon page down below the video here if you want to join me over there. And you can get an idea of what the week looks like. Over there I also post these videos, and then I do a write-up down below for easy reference. So there's that to look at as well. And then sometimes I do some magical musing videos, or foundations in magic videos, whatever you want to call them. I did one on the witch runes last week, so that's over there. But if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm going to take an Elder Futhark rune first from the bag, and then we're going to throw down the 4 geomancy runes, elemental ones, to discover the actual geomancy rune for the day. So let's go ahead and let these runes fall through my fingers. And the last one is the 1. Well, we have I was. This is a link between realms, higher self, and the flow of spirit really into form. It's laguz, upwards and downwards. So I won't say they're reversed because they're really not. It's an as above, so below rune, and it can indicate again the connection between opposites. It's air element and fire element. Although laguz is water, in that expression, I think it's more about creation type of energy, really. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at the geomancy rune. But it's about protection and just the emotional flow we have with others. It looks like we're going to have Albus as the geomancy rune. Let me see if I can find it here. Just pour these out. What's this one? No, that's a missio. It's complement. Oh, there it is. Albus is about the sage, or somebody with white hair. It's wisdom. Inner wisdom, higher self-wisdom. And so, we flow in spirit, and really what we're doing there is we're accessing higher self-wisdom when we do that. So it's nice when the two runes that we draw here sort of align together, which these do. So very cool on that. Let's get that out of my way. We'll put this out of my way, so I've got some room to work. I've already shuffled for the most part, but let me just do a little bit more. Mostly, again, if you're here, if this is the first time here, then I like for the runes to sort of set the tone for the reading, and then the tarot cards actually give us the details of things. The first 3 cards I'm going to draw are the cards of influence. Sometimes, if there's going to be an outcome card, it's going to be the 3rd one of those, if we're looking at it that way. But mostly I like to just look at at influences to be just considering. The fourth and fifth card, the fourth one is the card that challenges us, and then, you know, to step outside our comfort zone, or to make whatever those influences we talk about happen. And then the last card, the fifth card, is the card that benefits us. So, oops, I'm about to lose my cards here because I'm not watching what I'm doing. So let's go ahead, and I didn't bend my cards back this morning. They get that way after a week, you know. Let's see. Okay, well, we're going to have an overall 3 numerology for this part of the reading. So mind, body, spirit, balance, creativity, optimism, interaction. We start out with the Queen of Wands. And here's a woman in authority. She's dynamic. She's powerful. She's intelligent. She's focused. You see her black cat right there. She's got 2 ram's heads on her. Oh, I've got a Sharpie on my fingers. Like, oh my God, what did I do to my finger? She's holding a staff in her right hand, and a sunflower denoting vitality in her left. She's not really looking at you in the eye. She has expectations of you, though. The wand suit, the suit of wands reflects the fire element, so the will, creativity, creation. You see her coat of arms behind her on the back of her throne. And again, I started to say before I saw the mark on my finger, like, what's that? We've got 2 rams here, or not rams, I'm sorry, 2 lions, excuse me. But it denotes her strength. Next, we have the Wheel of Fortune, and we'll talk about all these together as soon as we look at them. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. That's the 10th card of the major arcana. So we're talking about fortune and prosperity and cycles and movement and success. You see the hermetic glyphs for air, fire, water, and earth over here on the corners of the cards. We see Mercury, sulfur, and salt surrounding the wheel. You can see the word tarot in between the Hebrew glyphs. And it's a 1 numerology. The 10 reduces to 1. But you can think in terms of if you're thinking about cycles, then you have inherent in that beginnings and endings. And so even though we can reduce the 10 to 1, and that definitely says new beginnings, there's also a feeling of endings with that, or completion. So you've created your success, and now the wheel is turning again. Perhaps you did things in a very dynamic way. Maybe you assisted others on that path with the Queen of Wands. You might be providing assistance for others, or it's your leadership qualities that have created the success that you're seeing right here. But then we move to the last card, and it's reciprocity. We have the 2 of Cups. We see the winged sun above with the caduceus below. And this is healing. So it's a very emotionally healing card. In a sense, you've got perhaps their home back here. You see this line of demarcation. And I tend to interpret that of different things, different times perhaps, different experiences, like that was then, this is now, or this is now and this is the future. So there's that difference between the two, having a line that intersects what's either was or what's to be versus what is now. And usually, you'll see something that's a little less, involved right there. Here you just see flat ground. But he's reaching out his hand toward her, isn't he? And in a sense, it looks like he's taking a step toward her as well. You can think about this as healing the polarity within the masculine and feminine presence, and that's not depicting gender at all. That's just the projective versus receptive presence within. Personally, I actually prefer to call the polarities that versus masculine and feminine, because it just seems to be too gender related otherwise, at least in people's minds. Gender's a whole other different thing. So, it's not the polarity here that we're talking about. So this could be that you've come full circle, and now it's time to take a look at how you're feeling about everything, how you're responding to everything. Are you responding in a way that's pushy or controlling on the one extreme end, or are you just too passive on the other end, or are you simply allowing things to unfold? Basically, that's another way of looking at it, in a balanced way. The Queen of Wands can be a little pushy at times if she wants to be, because she is somewhat strict, given that she's in authority. That would be the fire element. That would be the exercise, the exercise of will within her. Obviously, the two lions on her throne indicate strength, and I'm not sure if there are lions on the back of her throne or not. There might be. Yeah, it's hard to see down there in the dark. You see them here and here. So this woman is really about inner strength, the inner strength it takes to succeed. The problem is you can get a little too focused on that, and you forget to heal and keep the balance within. And if we're looking in terms of I was and Albus, then you're drawing the flow of spirit into your awareness. And so you know that it can't simply be about the fire element within. It's got to also balance the emotions as well. So balancing emotions with will, in a sense. Let's take a look at... let's just do one more card here before we go to the challenge and benefit card. I want to get a little bit more. It almost feels like something's missing between the wheel and success. And the only thing that I can say is maybe there isn't. Maybe this is simply that while you're on the path to success, remember to keep your emotions balanced as well, so that your inner wisdom, that's going to align well with Albus there. So maybe we won't take a fourth card to modify that. Maybe you're thinking about how you're actually feeling about the success that you've created, about where you are now in that process, and have you been honoring your feelings within. It doesn't feel to me like the reciprocity is with others here. It really doesn't. It feels like this is an inner type of an experience. So I think it's not necessarily about healing any kind of rift, or misunderstanding with someone else. I don't see that this way. I just think that this is about the inner self. And maybe now that the cycle is turned and is starting again, it's time to take a look at that. Or perhaps the path is going to change a little bit to where you're going to be less assertive in terms of the success, because you've gotten it. And now you want to sit back and maybe reflect a little more about how you feel about all of it. Let's take the 13th card for each of the benefit and the challenge cards. Let's look at the challenge first. Well, we have the King of Cups. Now, the King of Cups is an interesting guy. He, again, like the Queen, is not really looking you in the eye. You see his throne on the water. He's holding a chalice in his right hand. And is that a scepter? Looks like a scepter, but it almost looks like another chalice, really. Or like he's got kind of like a chalice attached to a scepter, really. He's almost sticking one foot into the water there, not quite. So he's not quite, in other words, he's not fully committing himself, right? And I think that may be what this is about here. You're not really, until you can get your emotions, in other words, maybe you have some success, but your heart isn't into it, right? Maybe you can look at it that way. Maybe and you have to heal that receptive and projective presence within, so that you can soften some of the will that's going on here. The challenge is to not get passive aggressive about it, to not get manipulative, to not maybe lie to yourself about how you really feel. The King of Cups, can be kind and generous and all of that, but he does have problems with commitment. So this is really, I'm wondering if maybe what you're doing, your path to success, or how you're expressing your direction or your path itself, whether it's successful, about being successful or not, maybe the path you're on, the cycle is turning, the wheel is turning, and maybe you're discovering that there's something about that your heart's not really in. And the challenge is if it's truly the path you should be on, then you have to be willing to commit to it. Or maybe the challenge is that you're really not able to. And so in order to deal with it all, you're going to have to make a different decision pathwise. So this could kind of go in a couple different ways here, I think. Just depends on what's going on in your life as to how it's going to apply, really. That's why I try to keep it general. So, we're all going through different things, and some things we're doing collectively, but most of it we're not. We have our own lives and our own experiences and our own struggles, our own successes, and how we view all of that, how we see all of that. With the Wheel of Fortune, you could be up one moment and down the next, you see, as the wheel turns. So how you deal with something like that is important. But the challenge, I think, is to remain committed, and to remain committed to the path you're on. And if you're not, then you have to take a look at something else. Maybe you've been pulled along by other people into something that you're really not necessarily comfortable with. Oops. Now, this may seem like an interesting card to be a benefit card, but again, you've got the 8 there, and if you think about the 8, you're talking about material recognition, material success. But you're also talking about inner strength or outer strength. If you look at the strength card in tarot in the Major Arcana, that's card 8. So there's a parallel there. But here, she's bound and she's blindfolded. You would see the swords all around her. So either there's noise coming in that she can't hear because it's just getting in the way of the decisions she needs to make. Usually when you see the blindfold, you're going inward, and you're making a decision either from higher self-awareness, or like in the 2 of Swords where the swords are crossed, she's blindfolded, but you can look at this, but that would indicate a situation that you're looking at with dispassion. You're taking the emotion out of it, you're taking the visual out of it, you're going within, and you're letting your everything settle out so that you're simply looking at things rationally. All right. And here, having the strength to do that when there's noise around you, that's a lot. To be able to do that so that you can then heal the polarity within. So you can understand reciprocity, so you can understand generosity. The Queen of Wands she's a very generous person. She just doesn't like nonsense. Neither does the Queen of Swords. Now, the other way to look at the 8 of Swords is she's doing this so that she doesn't allow her own, in other words, she's bound by her own perceptions, basically. and she can't see beyond them. So again, it's almost like that ought to be the challenge card, to not remain bound by one's perceptions. But I think that when you're able to keep things in balance, then you're able to block out the noise of other things coming in on you. I just kind of feel like here that as the wheel of fortune is here, it's not so much about fortune itself as much as the ebb and flow of it and the positive outcome of something. Are you on the right path? Are you exerting your will in a way that makes sense? Are you doing it in balance with your emotions? Are you able to still, with your will, extend reciprocity and healing and love and compassion to other people? Or is it all just about you? And there's no room for anyone else in terms of what you're doing, the path towards success or a positive outcome or getting what you want. Success is kind of a funny word there, because it doesn't necessarily mean a good thing, a good outcome. If you have a criminal, for example, that criminal might be very, very successful in doing what they're doing, but it's not but in terms of the law or in terms of what happens to other people in the process, maybe not. There's a big investigative report out now called it's not the Panama Papers, it's the Pandora Papers, I guess. And it's talking about how we have one economy, but then there's the underbelly economy of organized crime, where people that you wouldn't think are typical mobsters, in fact, are, because they've figured out a way to shelter their income some other way to keep it either out of the hands of the people of their country, or they're taking from taxpayers, or whatever. They're not paying taxes anyway on the money. And so they're hiding at places, essentially. Even in states in this country, I guess South Dakota is a real big one, where these folks want to put their money in. I guess they have some interesting shelters there, which going forward, also, I suppose we're going to find Congress may have to act on this if there's not a law in place already prohibiting this. But it looks incredibly shady. What's happening? It's the whole idea of offshore stuff, right? So again, it's a way of looking at success that can be cyclical. Now that we know about this, what are we going to do to stop it, right? Because that's been an ongoing issue, where they don't have to say who really owns the money, essentially, the investments. They don't have to say. It can all be behind closed doors, and we don't know who owns what. Well, if it's all organized crime, that's a problem, isn't it? You look at the Russians that have come here and in this country, with respect to everything that's happening politically with the last administration. To say they're not in bed with one another is ridiculous. Of course they are. So what does that mean in terms of success? It's the same way. How are you approaching getting what you want in life? And is what you want in life, is it based on, is there a component of it that involves reciprocity and healing and compassion and understanding and awareness and sharing with others? This is an incredible card that means all of that. And I think that, but right now I suspect that it's more about inner balance, given both Aiwa's and Albus. I think that's really more what we're looking at. Are we balancing ourselves in a way that still leaves room for caring about other people? We see a lot of evidence of that right now, where that seems to be the struggle that some people have. It's all about how they see things, and everyone else doesn't matter. And in terms of a pandemic, that's devastating, and it's why we're still dealing with this. And I know they want to blame everybody else and their brother for it, but it's not true. It's because there is a big enough section of the country that won't cooperate, basically. Otherwise, we would have been through this by now, and we would be in a very different place. But we're not, and so collectively we're dealing with that. But if you want to extrapolate that down to a situation that's just individual, you just have to ask yourself, what path are you on? Does it allow for the needs of other people, or is it solely your own? Is the outcome you seek really one that's going to benefit all, or does it just simply benefit your own ego? And I think that, we can either approach things in a way, I mean, again, the challenge is not to be passive aggressive about it. It's not to be, you have to make a commitment to something other than, that's higher than yourself, allowing spirit to inform all of that, gaining that higher vibratory awareness. That is talking about here, and that Albus is talking about. Does it come from that, or is it a pure egoic situation that you're engaging in? Because I guarantee if it is, you aren't going to be able to, if this is a healing with someone else, that's not going to happen. And if it's a healing within, that's not going to happen either. You're going to be, all fired up to continue. And that's where you think you derive your greatest fortune or your success. So the benefit, if you can figure all of that out, then you get out of the way of your own perceptions that are based on ego, and you go within and you make a better choice, one that actually invokes spirit into the experience versus the ego. So that's where I think I would leave that today. We'll see what happens on Thursday. It feels like this is kind of a Genesis type of a reading, where there's more to come. I don't know if you feel that, but that's what it feels like to me. I'm really interested in what the whole wheel of fortune and the cyclical nature of that, the turning of the wheel, because you never know, maybe you're on the path to righteousness, maybe you're on the path to success, but maybe you're not. And if you can't listen to the inner voice and have that tell you what you really know to be true, then you're letting ego drive that ship, and it doesn't tend to take you in a very positive place, unless of course you're, devoid of any empathy at all for others, and then, you're not going to care about such things. And we've all witnessed that. And I think that when we see what's in this new investigative report, it's just a ton of data that they got. And it's going to reveal, in a sense, who the bad guys are. And they're not going to be able to hide from this now, because it's there. They have the proof, basically. So we'll see how that affects people. But it really does give you an insight into people in power who cannot seem to let go of it and want more and more and more, and they don't care what they have to do to get it. We watched that for 4 years, and it was pitiful to watch, and it was terrifying in a lot of ways, because you want to know, okay, how messed up is it going to be when it's all said and done? Well, I think we're about to find out. So anyway, I think we'll stop here. Just remember that how you express yourself, if it's an expression of the will, as long as you keep in mind the reciprocity you need to have with other people and the compassion you need to have with other people, that tempers the expression of will. And when you can do that, I think that really that's what the Wheel of Fortune is talking about. And maybe it's not so much about material success as much as it is about understanding the relationship between spirit and form. And are we focused on a higher vibratory experience here, or are we just going to sit around and react to everything that goes on with ego and with little understanding as to the greater picture? So this is just a time, I think, where we're going to be going within a lot and trying to understand without, letting judgment come in or letting the perceptions of others interfere with what we know. So that's it. We'll talk again on Thursday. Thanks for watching. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And I guess Google wants you to give it a like. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. But anyway. We'll talk Thursday. Thanks for coming by, and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.